can't.
Check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list!
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? It's week 3. We're kicking off week 3 already. Fantasy football season with stepmom Lauren. As always, we're going to talk waivers today. Live for you every Tuesday, 11 a.m. on Bets Media. As a reminder, do these things at the beginning. As a reminder, code ALLIN get you 20% off of everything at FTN, so you can make sure you're checking out all the tools, all the great stuff. Jeff's work as we see him tomorrow on the ranking show. But make sure you check that out. All capitals, the same as the all capitals. If you go to theathletic.com/BetsTV, you have to put the BetsTV all capitals. Then you get that first free month to go drop in a billion comments that I get to every single week and try to answer, as Laura's like, Jake's just staring at the TV and not doing anything and talking to me and blah, blah, blah before we come on. Because I talked to you for like 2 minutes today. That was like 2 minutes. How are you through 2 weeks, Lauren? Doesn't it seem like it's flying by? Because it is for me.
It is. And don't let him fool you, everybody. He is grouchy in the mornings, right? I'm over here like a happy spring chicken. Yeah, it is morning.
No. I'm saying, like, you're trying to specify a specific part of the day. Like, it's all the time. That's why.
Super grouchy. How about that? More grouchy than normal.
Keep talking. Keep going.
Blah, blah, blah.
No, keep talking.
He's a groucho.
No. I'm trying to get you to feel space while I do something. I wasn't mocking you to keep.
I'm working with you. Go do your thing. My goodness. Yeah, he is really grouchy. I'm over here like a happy spring chicken, and they're all like, yeah, blah, meh. Like, come on. It's a Tuesday. We're heading into week 3. I do see it. Sharing is caring. Okay.
Do you see which version it is?
I do, and I really like it.
If nobody's paying attention, if nobody's watching the video, there's a little bit of dust on it. So this is my grumpy bear because when my sister and I were kids, somebody bought us Care Bears, and they bought me the grumpy bear. How
appropriate. He's like Eeyore in the morning, everybody.
Does it really surprise anybody? So let's talk waivers. Actually, you know what? Real quick, recap, because this will bring into the conversation. But yeah, Green Bay, Detroit last night. Only a little spit of things to cover about. Nobody's shocked that Aaron Rodgers rebounded and the Packers rebounded and Aaron Jones went bananas. And by the way, I love the amount. It's funny. It tells you how often people don't really pay attention, or well, they do pay attention, that they don't respond to your tweets because they still see them. But it's funny, like last night I said, well, somebody went into Monday Night Football feeling great about their 40-point lead and they faced Aaron Jones. And that was my entire tweet. And I had like 70 replies. So I know you guys see all the rest of my tweets. They just all trash until you feel like talking about your team for all these people that faced Aaron Jones. But it's the other side of the ball that has the interest, Lauren. The first is this. For Tuesdays, in case anybody doesn't know, we do worry reports, we do waivers and stuff like that. So this is going to fold into that because the first part is the Swift Jamal work. Are you worried at all about Jamal Swift? Jamal Swift, basically, that would be great.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah. Are you worried about DeAndre Swift because the split is still so prominent, even though Swift, again, is doing better on his work than Jamal is?
No, I'm not worried at all. I actually really like both of these running backs, and they're, like you said, they're both getting production. And I understand it's only week 2 and we're heading into week 3, so we can't really assign too much of a trend to this quite yet, but I kind of feel that's where it's going. So I'm not worried for either of those 2 running backs, because this is going to be sustainability for health for me, for DeAndre Swift, who is obviously the more explosive back. He's the one that can really get you a higher ceiling than Jamal Williams. So no, I'm not worried about it. If like one was getting a ton of work and the other one wasn't doing anything, I'd be freaking out. But I'm not, because they're seeing a good solid share, both of them together. So I'm not worried about that. I have the same kind of a situation with another team from the NFC East.
Another team? Well, yeah, okay. I guess we'll get to that. Is it on the sheet? Do you need to bring it up, or is it on there? Is it?
I don't know. I think you have it on there, but
well,
we can fill it in later.
You look, and then I'll talk about the amazingness of Quintus Cephas last night, which will kind of move us into the waivers.
You actually don't have him on here.
Okay, well there you go. You can throw him when we get to the worry level. Is it a worry? Is it a kind of a worry concern part?
It is a worry concern.
Okay, so you teased it. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it when we get to that part. All right, so on the Cephas situation, because this is what I said in the waiver column. If anyone hasn't read it, you can, again, first free month, you can go read it for free. But this is what I said about Cephas. He is the quote-unquote last man standing. I mean, there's other wide receivers out there, but he's the one now that Tyrell Williams is out. Until Tyrell Williams comes back, I want Cephas, but here's what I said, Lauren. I compared it to somebody last year, which I'm wearing my ODU hat. I wasn't even doing this on purpose. But last year, I was all over Travis Fulgham. Hey, I went to ODU. Hey, I watched a lot of Travis Fulgham. You know, sometimes this is why you get the insights of the insights of the insights. Nobody else was really talking about him except for Eagles fans, because you pay more attention to your guys. But I was the first to say, go get Fulgham. I was also one of the first, Lauren, to say, let's be realistic and get off of him as soon as people treat him as a top wide receiver, because that's not who he is. And I said this is probably what we're looking at with Cephas, honestly, is that if everybody's focused on shutting down Hawkinson, Cephas can do work. But as you saw in the second half, if the Packers and other teams pay attention to Cephas as the number one wide receiver, he's probably going to struggle to be more of a wide receiver 4.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying this from the beginning. I'm avoiding all Detroit Lions wide receivers.
I know you have been, but I was trying to see if you could get any interest coming back around.
Nope, not at all.
If you're in a 14-team league, would you pick up Cephas?
Yeah, sure. Then I'd take some Pepto and hold my nose and be like, why? Why am I in a 14-team league? This is awful. But yeah, I might, but I don't like it. It's stinky. Gross.
Well, what if I bought you a Cephas jersey? Would you rep that behind you? Would you put that
I
on?
would. Absolutely, I would.
I have a Heineke jersey behind me. That's the ODU Heineke jersey, by the way.
It is. It's lovely. But that does not mean I'm going to start him in fantasy. But if you send me a gift, I will display it.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about worry levels of other ones before we get to the waivers, because it was an interesting week for waivers, but it wasn't like week 1 or week 2 from week 1 of where it was like, oh my God, what do we do with Elijah Mitchell? Yeah, so that's all the time. By the way, yeah, Alex, you should quit your job. No, I'm just kidding. Don't quit your job just to watch this show. This is why it's on replay. You can watch it on YouTube. You can catch it on iTunes. I'd usually do this at the end, but if you do that, please do the subscribe and ring the bell and thumbs up and 5 stars and all that goodness stuff so we can get more attention, because Lauren deserves it, even if I don't, because she's friendly. So there you go. All right, let's start at quarterback. Let's start about 2 guys that I have in a lot of leagues, Lauren. I own a lot of Joe Burrow, and as my second quarterback, a lot of Lawrence. I'm more willing to give up on Lawrence because he wasn't my starting quarterback anywhere. He wasn't my ride or die. Joe Burrow was kind of my ride or die, and I don't want to kick him out of the car because that's your ride or die. I don't want to boot him out of there. But at the same time, let's talk about Burrow first. There was an article on The Athletic. I was telling you and Tino before we came on the show. I couldn't remember who told me about it yesterday, but from Paul Dare, is that it said the offense has been conservative. And part of that might be their hesitancy to really unleash Joe Burrow coming off the injury, barely any reps in the preseason. How concerned, 1 to 5 ducks, how concerned are you for Joe Burrow through 2 weeks of the season so far?
Yeah, 2.
2?
Yeah.
Okay.
2.
So why aren't you that concerned? Put it that way.
Well, and for me, this is about the weapons that surround Joe Burrow, right? And so these were back-to-back interceptions that he had. That is very uncharacteristic. Now, until it turns into, like I mentioned before, a trend, I don't think that this is something that we really need to worry about week in and week out when it comes to Joe Burrow. He's got T. Higgins. He's got Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd is still in the mix. There's a lot of things going on with the Bengals. And don't forget, he is coming off of that catastrophic injury where he missed a lot of time. So week 2, he's getting his legs underneath him, no pun intended. And he's bound to make mistakes. And I'm happy for him for just shrugging him off and then going right back to Jamar Chase and getting that touchdown. So that's why I don't really have a ton of worry, is because those mistakes did not compound over and over and over again. It was 2. It was bad, but he learned from it. He's still young. I'm not that freaked out.
Okay, fair enough. I actually have 2 for Joe Burrow. So let's see if we match up again.
Mm.
Trevor Lawrence. So for everybody out there, Trevor Lawrence, this is from the article, dead last in PFF passing grade. That's even behind Justin Fields, and Justin Fields barely being on the field so far. He's also behind Zach Wilson, despite Zach Wilson throwing 5 interceptions, including 4 in one game. He's also, if you rank everybody, barely ahead of Fields in adjusted completion percentage, which is the percent of passes thrown on target for receivers to be able to catch, basically catchable to a degree. There's a whole nother number for catchable, but you can go look it up. So all that being said, he's down at the bottom. He is miserable so far through the first 2 games. And actually, I think NBC Edge let me go see if, NBC Edge just put this out this morning. He actually leads the NFL with 36% uncatchable passes through the first 2 weeks. Trevor Lawrence, concern level 1 to 5, because this is what I said, Lauren, is we were hoping, if nothing else, this is the Jaguars. Garbage time. It's what helped Gardner Minshew be relevant. It's what helped Blake Bortles be relevant. And he runs a little bit. Like, this was not supposed, like, this is beyond what we expected to be the worst case scenario.
I don't know. This is exactly what I expected from Trevor Lawrence. So this doesn't surprise me at all. And my worry level for him, maybe I'm a little biased because I wasn't really high on Trevor Lawrence this year. That doesn't mean I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. I just think this rookie year, it's a lot to really dive into on a crappy team and expect him to be the next messiah for Jacksonville. It's going to take some time.
The hair.
He does have a fantastic flow. I'm not going to lie. But like my worry level for him was a 4 out of 5 coming into the season. Now it's a 4 with a pregnant duck.
So 4.5 because you don't want you don't want a half of a duck because that would be like a dead duck. You want like a pregnant.
That would be it's a really bad visual.
How about 4 ducks
like
and an egg? How about that?
Yeah, 4 ducks and an egg, but it just hasn't been laid yet. You know, like it's still up in there. That went dark really fast.
That is true. Yeah, I actually only gave him 2. Here's why. Well, here's why. So he is actually 3rd in air yards per attempt. He is being aggressive. That's good. That's what we want. Here's the other part of it. The schedule, it was really it wasn't a murderous first 2 weeks, but it was a rough first 2 weeks. This is what he gets now. Arizona, Cincinnati, Tennessee, Miami, Seattle. Miami's a little bit of a concern. Seattle's on the road, a little bit of a concern. But if nothing else, Arizona, Cincinnati, Tennessee. Now's the time we get to find out who Lawrence is.
I don't like Arizona. I don't like that matchup at all.
Arizona gets pressure, but that'd be the only concern about theirs. We just saw last week. We've actually seen it through the first 2 weeks. You can beat Arizona, especially because they push the pace on top of it. This is where we find, I will say this. If they get through Cincinnati in week 4 and Joe Burrow, well, actually, it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. If Lawrence hasn't shown us through anything through week 4, I would almost just say even in Superflex, that's like, wow, you're going to be concerned in Superflex as well. But I'm holding true for at least another 2 games. He's my second quarterback. Put it this way. Let me phrase it differently, Lauren. Trevor Lawrence is your second quarterback. Do you go out there and drop him for, let's see, Tannehill? No, Tannehill, we definitely want Tannehill over. Who's behind Tannehill? Give me some names behind Tannehill. I was going to say Derek. Would you make the swap for Derek Carr from what we've seen through first 2 games for Derek Carr?
Absolutely.
Okay. Maybe that one was too easy. How about, would you swap him for Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, I think I would because I like the way that Baker Mayfield can actually use his legs. He showed that in week 2 as well. I just think there's more veteran presence there. Yeah, Baker Mayfield.
Would you drop Trevor Lawrence for Matt Ryan?
Yes. That is spicy. That is spicy.
I wouldn't do it. No.
I would, only because I think that offense is going to start getting a little bit better once they figure out what the hell's going on. Because I don't think they've quite done that yet. Calvin Ridley has been almost worthless the first 2 weeks.
Because who else are you going to stop? It's him and Calvin Pitts. Or Calvin Pitts?
Calvin, we're just combining players.
I know. This is what happens when you answer 200 questions before you go onto your show.
I hear you. But I don't know. I like the upside of Matt Ryan because I think.
No.
I do.
He has no upside. What's his upside? He's got no offensive line. You see, now you're missing teams too.
This is your fault.
No offensive line. Matt Ryan looks like he kind of hit the wall, and he's not at the bottom of the ravine, but he's starting to fall down the cliff, and you might need to, if you have any hope, Lauren, you need to grab him. You need to throw him a rope.
I honestly think this is how much I really don't believe in Trevor Lawrence.
Wow.
As opposed to how much I believe in Matt Ryan.
We're going to have to come back into, hey, put it this way, Lauren. Can we do a side bet here? Can we do?
Yeah, we can. I will come to regret this, but sure.
Trevor Lawrence versus Matt Ryan, just the next 2 weeks. Just that's it. It doesn't even have to be the season. Just the next 2 weeks. Trevor Lawrence versus Matt Ryan. We got to figure out something.
No, I can't, Jake, because injury problem. Remember the last time that we did this?
No, we're going to do it anyway. That was one time.
Okay.
That was 1 out of 4. No,
Okay.
you're hopefully not going to curse anybody. So there you go. Lawrence versus Matt Ryan next 2 weeks. We've got to figure out what the penalty or the prize will be between one of the two. We are going to talk.
I already have my pay up.
Okay.
Ready.
Well, we'll have
I
to
won't tell
find
you
out.
though.
Phil, Mike, Jameis Winston. That's the other quarterback. How concerned are you, Jameis? We knew Jameis Winston wasn't going to throw 5 touchdowns and not even throw 200 yards every single week. We knew he wasn't going to throw 3 touchdowns and not throw for 200 yards every single week. I don't think anybody was expecting Jameis Winston to still not throw for 200 yards, but to throw 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns in week 2. How concerned are you 1-5 on Winston?
Not at all. I think this is what you needed to expect coming from Jameis Winston. So if this is surprising to you, you must be new at fantasy football. Totally fine. Go back and take a look at some stats from previous years. He's known as the 30 for 30 guy. I'm not surprised here. The Saints were first of all, they're dealing with a lot of stuff going on in New Orleans with Hurricane Ida that came through and just decimated New Orleans and Louisiana. And there was also some serious COVID issues going around with all the assistant head coaches. There was just a lot of drama, a lot of things going on for the Saints. I think they're going to right this ship. I'm not very worried about Jameis Winston because this is what we knew of him. At least it wasn't 4 interceptions, but there goes my bold prediction about how he won't have a single interception for the first 4 weeks. Boo.
So by the way, real quick while we're doing this, the 49ers did bring in a running back. Surprising one, Jacques Patrick. Might be Jacques Patrick if we get to talk to Pat Mayo, because it's so by the way, it's big dude.
Whoa.
What?
Okay,
What?
I thought, because according to Adam Schefter yesterday, I should say, they were looking at Duke Johnson, Lamar Miller, and
Yeah.
TJ Yeldon.
Not Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson's on Jaguars, or unless they recut him.
I think they
Oh yeah,
recut him.
they did. They cut him before
did.
week 2. I forgot the So
Yeah.
no, they signed Patrick. So this dude 6'2", 6'3", I think, and I don't know. Tom Pelissero just announced it. So there you go, 200 pounds. The big dude. Look, power option. But legit, like I said this in the waiver article, go grab Trenton Cannon and whoever they sign. Go grab Patrick just in case. Like, Mitchell is healthy, but if Mitchell gets banged up again and, Trenton Cannon's not going to be a lead option, it'd be an interesting split between, that's power and your pass catcher right there, the combination. I'd at least grab Patrick in deeper leagues. Definitely 14 team plus. 12 team might just take a flyer because it's San Francisco, right?
Yeah. Should we take an over-under on how many running backs they're going to rotate through in 2021?
Oh, for the entire season?
Yeah.
They've already been through 4.
I know.
So-
Let's set the line at like 8.
7.5. If Patrick gets in, we're already at 5. Jeff Wilson's coming back. So there you go. That's
That was
6
too
right
easy,
there.
wasn't it? That
Yeah.
was way too easy. Over. Okay, never mind. I was going to do 10, but I thought that was a little rich.
Yeah, so do I drop Latavius Murray for Jacques Patrick? No, I don't. I don't draft.
Just one more time, please. I have to hear it again.
What, the Jacques Patrick?
Yes.
I'm not going that far. I would not drop Latavius Murray. I would not drop who else? I'm trying to think of this conversation. Here's an interesting one. Would you drop Damian Williams? He barely got run in week 2. Would you drop Damian Williams for him?
No.
For Patrick? I wouldn't either. I wouldn't drop Tony Pollard. Obviously, I wouldn't.
Oh,
But basically, all those higher end next man up. Would you drop Tony Jones for Patrick? I might, because here's what I said about being able to drop Tony Jones. Yes, he's the next man up if something happens to Kamara, and I don't ever want a free guy out there like that. It's so frustrating. But when you're kind of you're just chasing who gets hurt first, right?
Yeah, that's rough.
And that's really like Elijah Mitchell already got banged up. Elijah Mitchell sounds okay for week 3, but even as sounds like he might miss Wednesday's practices. And then, we know Cannon's not the answer, and Hasty and Sermon are out. So
Right.
I might take a chance on that.
Well, Sermon's in concussion protocol, so it's not like he's
Right.
out for the season. So
No, but at least this week.
yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if I buy into it. I might want to avoid that situation. But if we're going to talk about the Falcons, there's another name that I think you could probably put on your radar here, if not pick up, and that's Cordarrelle Patterson. I would rather have him than Jacques Patrick.
Are you trying to move the show in your direction? Because that's not how this works.
That's how I work. Everything goes in my direction, Jake. We've met. Come on now.
We're gonna get there. So there. Look, Alex. Alex just asked Cordarrelle Patterson or this San. It's not the San Francisco guy. It's Jacques Patrick. Get it right. It's getting worse every single time I do it.
I love it. Keep going.
Worry level. This is good because there's a question in here. So V. Locken asks, do I trade Gibson and Mitchell for A.J. Brown and Chase Edmonds? On the flip side, let's talk Antonio Gibson. So we could talk this trade, Gibson for Edmonds, clear, significant, major running back downgrade. And then you got Mitchell for Brown. Even if you took Gibson for Brown, that's kind of an even swap, and then Mitchell for Edmonds. So if I look at it that way too, I don't do it. There is a lot more upside, especially if Mitchell remains the guy. But here's the second part. When you give me your answer, Lauren, your concern level on Gibson, because I did give him 2, because I don't remember if I was talking, again, too many shows. I don't remember if I was talking to you or 3 or Jeff or somebody, but I said that Tyler Haneke was going to be a beneficiary. Like, most of the offense was going to stay the same. Is that, yes, not the downfield aggression, but Heineke was better than people realize. But what the one person, the one out of the entire offense that was going to benefit was McKissick, because Heineke will check down more.
Yep.
The second part of it is that Antonio Gibson just isn't out there for 2-minute drills, the passing downs, and if they're in the 2-minute drill, that means they don't rotate, they don't come off the field because they're already in the it's quick huddles and everything like that. So I know I just threw a lot at you and shotgunned it really, but basically it's a 2-part question. Your concern level for Antonio Gibson, and then would you do that trade? I'm assuming you're not doing the trade either.
Correct. I'll just go ahead and nix that one. I would not do that trade. I think there's too much upside on what you already have there. But the concern level for Gibson, and this is going to be something I bring up several times. It will not be the last time you hear me say this, but we're seeing this weird kind of relationship between these running backs because we have an extended season. So I'm worried for the short term about Antonio Gibson. I'm worried about that production. McKissick looks like the guy that Heineke really wants to be, McKissick. You know what I'm saying? Mwah, chef's kiss. So that concerns me now, but not for the long run. So that's why I'm hovering right around 3 ducks here for my concern. I was thinking 2, but I don't think that's like really enough for me to stress how worried I am for now. But I think because we have so much fantasy football left to play, I think Gibson is going to be able to work himself into the offense a little bit more, because if you think about it, they need their running backs healthy. It is just like fantasy football, in real football as well. Talent at the running back position is hard to come by. There's a lot of injuries. So keeping these guys healthy for as long as possible makes the most sense to me. And for me, that player for Washington is Antonio Gibson. So they're not using him as much, just like you said, I think, to keep him sustainable for as long as possible.
Yeah, and to what Lee Ving is saying, Gibson can't be the third down back. I never said that, and nobody's ever said that. The problem is Washington does not use him as such. Like, they refuse to, which I know baffles everybody, including myself. This is somebody who primarily was a wide receiver at Memphis, and everybody was questioning whether or not he'd be able to be a lead running back in the NFL, and immediately answered that question, but he immediately answered that question with Washington refusing to use him that much in the passing game. So it's not us. We can sit here all day long. And I always bring up Lamar Miller as the perfect example.
I can't sit here all day long. I have things to do.
Yeah, but everybody remembers Lamar Miller, and everybody remembers that fantasy community was like, give him more touches, give him more touches, give him more touches. The coaches don't know what they're doing. And then Lamar Miller gets more touches. And what happened at that time, Lauren? More touches, same output. He did not improve. He also got hurt, didn't he? He did, but I mean, I'm just talking more about his performance. He was less efficient.
And it goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah,
if we're going to be begging for these guys to get all these touches, but it does surprise me that Gibson is not seeing a little bit more in the passing game. That may change. I don't know. But when you're talking about more touches, more output, this is now. This is causing a problem, and it's an injury concern. So if you want to have Antonio Gibson for the long run, when you're talking about really important weeks leading up to the playoffs, and then when you're in the playoffs, you want a healthy Antonio Gibson that's going to be able to provide some kind of stability for you on your roster, as opposed to a banged up Antonio Gibson that may not even be playing, has to skip time. These are things that you have to look at. It's so easy to get yourself into a tunnel vision on just next week. But this is why we have a roster and bench spots in depth, so that we can sustain throughout the season until we get to those really, really crucial weeks towards the end of the season.
Of course. So this next question that's in here is trade Swift and Henderson for Gibson. Gibson's clearly the best person in this trade, but I'm not doing it just because I don't want to give up my running back depth. I've seen a lot of these trade questions, Lauren. I saw one that was I forget who the players were in the column today, but it was one where, it was Chris Carson. Chris Carson's my third running back, and it has a flex. He's like, I could trade Chris Carson and it was a wide receiver. I could trade him straight up for Barkley. I was like, I'm not. Why? I don't want to say this because I was about to sound like I'm being a jerk to everybody. I'm always a jerk to everybody. I was about to say, why do you want to get rid of running back depth? And that sounds like being. But stop thinking this way. Like, I want depth until at least we get halfway through the buys, if not hopefully after the buys. When I start nearing the playoffs, yes, I want to consolidate because I don't want Chris Carson on my bench. But most people don't have those options. Yes, Gibson is the best player in this trade. But Swift and Henderson sounds like he's okay. It's rib cartilage issue, but it sounds like he's okay. You're giving up 2 2s for a 1, and if it was a 2 and a 3, but I'm not giving up 2 2s for a 1.
I don't know. The upside with DeAndre Swift, the fact that he can give you RB1 weeks and then Darrell Henderson can fall into the end zone at any time. I would not be giving a 2 for 1 on a running back deal right now. But I understand the argument about trading away Chris Carson only because he has sustainability issues as well. But I'm with you, Jake. I cannot get rid of running backs that I know are playing and they're on the field. I can't do it. I would look to try to move another piece maybe before you make any changes to those running backs because they're so few and far between.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's hit on a couple more of these. We get to actual waiver pieces here coming here in a second. No, this is the big one. I think this is the biggest one of the week. The worry level of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out there. He's out there from there's so many ways to look at this. From one, he's getting the volume we want in terms of he's essentially the back. We have 3 touches for Darrell Williams. We had 1 in week 1, 1 out of all the rest going to Edwards-Helaire. He's getting all the run. Here's the downside, Lauren. He's not getting any passing game work. He's still not getting the goal line work, which was kind of to be expected after what happened last year. I referenced this with Meany yesterday. I said week 1 last year, he was 1 of 7 or 1 of 8 inside the 5. And then he had, I think it was 1 of 7, and then he had 8 attempts the rest of the year, the rest of the 15 weeks. Oh, well, he got hurt, but the rest of the season. So Edwards-Helaire worry level, and then I saw a comment in here that somebody even mentioned the fact that he fumbled and whether or not Jerick McKinnon's going to become a factor. Out of 5, I have a feeling you're going to trump me on this one too. I gave him a 3. Are you going to go higher on the scale than I am?
No, I got 3. I have 3
Okay.
here as well. I have 3 here as well. And it's going to kind of boil down to that same argument that I've been saying. It's sustainability for these guys. Obviously, Andy Reid really likes Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Patrick Mahomes really likes Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I don't think he's really going to go anywhere. Could his usage come down a little bit because of that fumble? Possibly, but long term, I'm not as worried, but I still think there is some concern, mostly because we as fantasy managers, if you bought into the Clyde Edwards-Helaire hype like I did, you probably spent a pretty penny to acquire him. And so far, it has not been pretty. And without really a big, competitor, like last year he had Le'Veon Bell that stole a ton of touches and took away a lot of his snap counts. We're not seeing what we really wanted out of him, but I'm not giving it a 4 because I don't know if that is sustainable throughout the entire season. I think he is going to get more involved, but what he can do with it is really up to him. He is a first round draft pick. You don't fumble, dude. You just don't. The efficiency has to be better. Moving the sticks has got to be better. And I think he is better. So that's kind of why I'm not going with a 4 here, because maybe I'm just clinging. I'm being very clingy right now, and I'm trying to put that good juju into the atmosphere so that it comes true.
Yeah, and that's why I gave him a 3, is because the volume is at least there.
Yeah.
See, he's got 69.1% of the share. And so, but that's the thing is, again, 3 targets in 2 games. 3. So I said, look, low end RB2, which is fine. That's not what a lot of people wanted. If you told me, and I think you would agree with this, Lauren, if you told me at the beginning of the season, before we even kick off the season, you said, by the way, you're going to get at least 70% of the work, which is 69.1, we'll round it up, 70% of the work for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'd have been like, top 15, lock him in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Agreed. And that's kind of at least that's what I saw moving forward, was that kind of volume. And as a top 15, maybe as an RB1, I had such high hopes for him. But I wonder how much game script also had to do with the lack of targets. I mean, when they played the Ravens, not going to lie, I fell asleep. It was a real long day, so I didn't see the end of the game. But when the Ravens ended up coming back and Lamar Jackson kind of had his explosion, how much did they really need to rely on Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that kind of a situation? And they needed to stretch the field. They needed to go to Travis Kelce. But the problem is, too, they need Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be productive. So I don't know. I'm so torn on this one. It's very disappointing.
Look, that's understandable, and I think that's where I would think you'll agree. You can't sell him right now.
No,
because,
no.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck with the situation. All right, let's talk 2 wide receivers real quick because I do want to get plenty of waivers, and we're already halfway through the show. Robbie Anderson and Brandon Ayuk. I will give you my. Oh, I'm interested now because I gave Robbie Anderson a 2. I gave Ayuk a 1. Anderson, I gave a 2 for this reason. So I was ready to give him like 3 or 4 because what do we know about DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson last year? So before, okay, time machine here. Let's go back. So last year, let's go back to, there, thank you. I was going to do the Wayne's World one. 2019, DJ Moore is the underneath speed option. Robbie Anderson, go deep, right? 2020 rolls around. That changes. Matt Rule and Joe Brady say, we're not doing that anymore. Now Robbie Anderson is the underneath guy, and DJ Moore is going deep and getting all the air yards. So I was ready to say, well, if that's continuing, and looking at the target share that Anderson has through 2 weeks, this is going to be a 4. Then I looked, and I went back and watched that game, because I admittedly, at the time, didn't watch a lot of that game. And I looked back, and I also pulled up the stats. Second highest air yards per target in the NFL so far. 21.0 air yards per target. If you watch the game, the rolls are back. Now, DJ Moore is going downfield more than he was 2 years ago, but Robbie Anderson's spending a lot of time downfield like he was 2 years ago. This is back, and maybe it's the Sam Darnold situation, whatever it might be, but he is not last year's, where if you told me last year he's only getting 3 or 4 targets, I'd been like, yeah, 4. You might even be willing to drop him. I'm sticking because their air yards per target, if you're going to keep Anderson in that role, yes, he's more boom or bust than we wanted him to be, but that's why he's only a 2. And Ayuk is a 1 just because he's not 100%, and he had the second most snaps for wide receivers last week. He's just getting back into form.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go a 1 on both of these guys, and I'm not a 2 on Robbie Anderson because just like you mentioned that you alluded to here, this is the Sam Darnold thing because I'm not even bothered at all what Robbie Anderson did when he's been not with Sam Darnold. I want to know what Robbie Anderson did when he was with Sam Darnold, and that is who he was with the Jets. And he was the downfield boomer bust guy, but when he booms, he booms. And that usually happens later on in the fantasy season when you're getting into your playoffs. So hang on to Robbie Anderson because he's one of those clutch guys that does that. Sam Darnold is comfortable targeting him. He knows how to target him, and that is what Robbie Anderson is going to fulfill on his new team because Sam Darnold needs some kind of a security blanket here, and that's going to be Robbie Anderson. Targets aren't necessarily going to be there every single week, but you did not pick up Robbie Anderson for a massive amount of target share. You picked him up for those huge games, very much like a Will Fuller situation, but I like Robbie Anderson much better. I'm not worried about either of those 2 wide receivers.
Okay. How about last one, tight end? And this works well because I saw a question fly through here. I don't remember what it was. George Kittle concern level. I will tell you again mine. I gave him a 2, and I almost, this is to go back to yours before. I want to give him like 2 and an egg. I want to give him like the where we might have a third duck about to be birthed here because here's why. And this is what I mentioned in the column. 20% target share through 2 games. Okay, that's actually pretty solid, especially for a tight end. Until you see these are his numbers the last 3 years. 28.3. 31.7 and 27.8. 27.8 being the lowest. And those numbers are with other options. This is before Ayuk is even 100%. And that's my concern. You're at 20% without Ayuk being back to form, Debo doing his thing. And like I said, it's 2 with, like you said, there's about to be birthed the third duck here. If you can get third round pre-draft value for Kittle, do you move away now?
No, I don't. And I think I'm gonna roll back a little bit to what I was saying about the running back position, about sustainability throughout the season, especially in an extended season. George Kittle had that issue last year, and I really think the 49ers want to keep him healthy for as long as possible. So this is a slow start, but I do not think this is going to be a long-term problem for Kittle. Just understand this and that you might have to have a bit of upside, maybe on your wide receiver side or in your flex spot in order to overcome maybe some deficiencies over the next few weeks for George Kittle, but I don't move on from him. I'm sticking with him because later on in the season, I'm going to wish to God that I had him on my squad when they're utilizing him more, when it matters more for all of these teams, including for fantasy.
Okay. All right, so let's talk waivers. Let's move on to those. Let's see if we have anybody here questions-wise. Oh, one more. How about, I get a lot of this one. It's interesting. This one's going the opposite way. I legitimately, it's so funny. I'm pulling up Travis Perry, Tino. trade Kareem Hunt for James Robinson. This is interesting, Laura. I'm not kidding you. There's two different people in the waiver column who said, should I trade James Robinson for Kareem Hunt to get Kareem Hunt? And I got to tell you, it's a wash, kind of, in my opinion. I feel like if you are just worried about potentially getting the rug pulled out from underneath you and James Robinson not having any value at all, I get it. Kareem Hunt is a very good RB3 with the upside. If anything ever happened to Chubb again, we just saw it last year, you have RB1 upside. At the same time, I think this is the lowest of the low for James Robinson, and that workload pushed back into his favor, and Carlos Hyde was left out for a lot of that game. I'm not excited about the Jaguars' offense. I lean James Robinson, but I'm okay going either direction in this one, depending on what you want.
You know what? I originally, when I first heard you say this, I was like, oh, I might be on the Kareem Hunt side. But then I kind of thought about it a minute, and I do think this is kind of a wash because Urban Meyer has to like pull his head out of his patootie here pretty soon and realize this is not college football. This is the NFL. And I think maybe week 2 was a slight turning point in that direction. And James Robinson, man, he is, especially you're in half PPR here too, not a full point PPR. So I could make an argument both sides as well. I love James Robinson. I really like Kareem Hunt. I don't know. I would leave it. I would leave it and keep who you got.
Do you honestly find yourself that way a lot of times where, like, if I don't see it definitively improve my team, and I'm kind of going, do I want it, do I not want it? Like, then just stick with it.
Yeah,
if you don't,
I do that.
Okay. Oh, I just noticed you have the Scott Fishbowl T-shirt on. I got enough of it that's the Super Mario one, right?
It is. I decided to do a throwback on Scott Fish because I wanted to represent my my video game one. I could not find a T-shirt I was looking for that says Zelda is the girl. It's sold by someone else. I could not find it. I wanted to order it so that we could, do a throwback to our very first show together. But alas, Scott Fish, he's a great dude, and plus it's Super Mario. He's the raccoon.
I wore my Ted Lasso one since they won Emmys.
I love Ted Lasso.
It's the be curious, not judgmental, which is
I love it.
The be not judgmental part is probably the complete opposite of what I ever am. So
it should just be your mantra. That is what you tell yourself every day.
No, that's definitely not. That is not the Jake Ciely mantra for everybody that knows me. But I wore it anyway for represent Ted Lasso. Good. Did you see they did
Great
the Jamie
show.
Or not the Jamie? They did the Roy Kent chant. Did you see they did the Roy Kent chant after they won? Which we can't do on the show because this is friendly for families out there.
That is correct.
Just so you know, Bullhead, we did answer, if you want to roll back, we answered the Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence, and we went in depth with them. But let's talk a couple waivers here real quick. This is the easiest one. Let's just get this out of the way. Darrell Henderson sounds okay. But because we already have this concern, like Sony Michel shouldn't be sitting. Whatever your thoughts of Sony Michel might be, he should not be on waivers right now, correct?
I agree. Ugh.
I know.
But I also think he's droppable if you need somebody else. I'm so meh about Sony Michel.
I would drop Tony Jones before I drop Sony Michel just because Darrell Henderson is already having issues.
That's true. That's true. I mean, you and I said this again, one of my very first shows, like Bill Belichick doesn't care about Sony Michel. Then like 3 days later he was cut. And then here he is with the Rams, kind of underwhelming. So, I mean, I guess for some safety, sure. I mean, but meh. That's all I got.
It's Sony Michel. Whether it's Jake Funk or somebody else will be involved if something happens to Henderson. Like Michel's not going to be the true bell cow. And also because two things is one is he's okay as a pass catcher. We've seen that. I'm not saying he's miserable, but we've already seen he is an injury risk. He's a severe injury risk because of his knee. Emory Hunt actually pointed that out to me back when he was being drafted. Sony Michel was, and he said, "Watch how hard he runs. He drives his legs into the ground with." Yes, which causes he's like, this is why I say this. I do a hell of a lot of scouting. I don't even think I'm top 10 in the world because I don't even do defensive players and offensive line. And that's just not me. I don't have time. I do skill positions for fantasy. If there's one person I think is the best scout in the history of forever, it is Emory Hunt. If you're not following Emory Hunt at F-Ball Game Plan, please do. You will be better for it. He's talked about guys that nobody even heard of. He's the one that told me before, way back when I was doing my film last year. He said, while you're doing your film, make sure you watch film on James Robinson. He was the James Robinson before everybody else.
Before
shout
it was
out
cool?
To Emory. Yes. Oh, he was before it was even cool. So Emory is beyond the man, but he just has an eye for these things. All right, speaking of running backs and sticking on this, Michael Carter. So there's a section of my waiver column where I do Lauren. It's like I told you last week, so I did tell you before, and I'm telling people again. It's that I tried to tell you because I've been telling you, and if you don't want to pick him up, I don't know what more I convince you to say. But I put Michael Carter there. He wasn't there the week before, but I put him there this week because a lot of people dropped Michael Carter because they were already frustrated. Two things here. Michael Carter was always the long con. He was the long play here. He's like 5-6 weeks into the season. He could be the guy. Here's the good thing. Tevin Coleman got pushed to third. It was Ty Johnson and Carter. Now, granted,
a lot sooner. I'm going to interrupt you here. A lot sooner than I thought.
No, go ahead.
I thought it would be a Tevin Coleman for about 4 weeks, and then it was going to be a committee. But Tevin Coleman was really only going to be that short-term person, and then continue. I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you. I'm a horrible person.
No. Continue. That's where I was going to go with it. It was Ty Johnson and Carter. I don't think you can start Carter. The offensive line looks questionable. Zach Wilson looks questionable, but that we're already getting Michael Carter and Ty Johnson split. Michael Carter will never be a bell cow. Let's make that clear. Yeah. He is Austin Eckler-like. He's not Austin Eckler's level, Austin Eckler-like, but that's why I am stashing. If anybody dropped Michael Carter, go pick him up immediately. Like, I'm talking priority ad here.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I'm not as high on that one. I'm not as high on that one because it's such a committee, like we talked about, and it's also the Jets, and we're talking a rookie quarterback here, where I'm just not sure how much of the game script is going to be favorable for a committee backfield. It's not like this explosive.
This is where I'm playing it out where it's committee, as in the committee of Myles Gaskin. Carter's 50%. The other 50% are Ty Johnson, Coleman, and maybe even somebody else at that point. But if you give me 50%, and this is why I say priority ad, is because if you give me 50% of Carter, I will take 50% of that workload going to Carter over what the hell is going on with James Robinson. I will.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I can see that argument. Okay. I'll let you have that one.
Got you to come around on this one. All right,
I'll let you have that one.
Cordarrelle Patterson time, everybody. There you go. Cordarrelle Patterson. Look, somebody said, somebody said this to me. It's like, so you're finally on Cordarrelle Patterson. I was never off Cordarrelle Patterson. I'm still not on Cordarrelle Patterson. If you want him, fine. But here's what Cordarrelle Patterson is. Are you really that excited for James White? Are you really excited for Nyheim Hines? Like, sure, as a half point and full point PPR RB3, who, if they score a touchdown, becomes a top 15 play that week. But if they don't score a touchdown, they're an RB3. If you need that and you need a starter, sure. If you need a starter, you grab Patterson before Carter. But if you're playing pure upside, I'm still going Carter because this is who Patterson is. This is who James White is. This is who Nyheim Hines is. If that's what you need, sure. But that's why I've always been in on. I've just never been that excited about him.
Yeah, he's not exactly a player that really electrocutes you with lightning of excitement and positivity, but he is a warm body that can get it done. And the reason why I'm so impressed with him after this week is I'm the same way. I was never off Cordarrelle Patterson. I just kind of dismissed him. You know what I mean? Wasn't hating, wasn't loving, just kind of like right there in that lukewarm middle, like, meh, I'd rather have hot chocolate or something. You know what I mean? But for him, what really impressed me was the fact that he got 6 targets and 5 receptions for 58 yards against the Buccaneers. And they are a very, very good defense. And it was a negative game script for, the Falcons, but yet he still got it done with his legs, which was, I think he had like 11 rushing yards and one of them happened to be a touchdown. I'm totally ignoring that. But it was the red zone usage I liked. It was the target share that I liked. And until Matt Ryan and the rest of the Falcons offense can figure out what the hell is going on, I think Matt Ryan is going to be looking Cordarrelle Patterson's way. And I think that volume and targets may stay the same or get a little bit better. And this is a desperation play here. If you need somebody that you need to flex or you need like an RB3 for depth, I don't hate this. I don't hate this at all. That's why I'm so excited about it.
Yeah,
but that sounded very weird. I was like, I don't hate it. That's why I'm excited. That didn't make much sense.
we touched on I see hygiene. We touched on J.D. McKissic. Same conversation. Nyheim Hines, but the lower end because of that offense. To go back to the Gibson situation, they've also had I think only 2, maybe 3 opportunities inside the 5 for rushing attempts anyway. So just the offense in general. I'm trying to move through these a little quicker because we're already running out of time. The show flew by.
We just have so much fun.
It is. That's why it flies by. So that's it for really running backs. Zach Pascal. We've talked about Zach Pascal already. So let me kind of throw this in here as a combination. Pascal or Patrick? Who would you? Tim Patrick, not Jacques Patrick. Tim Patrick, not Tim Patrick or Zach Pascal. Which would you pick up?
Can I have Tim Pascal, please?
No, you got to pick
Zach
one.
Patrick.
Pick one.
Okay, so the reason why I'm going to go with Tim Patrick here is simply because I don't know the health of Carson Wentz. Otherwise, for me, it'd be Pascal. I don't really like the fewer targets that he received. One of them was in the end zone, but touchdown dependent is very painful. That was Tim Patrick.
You know, Pascal's tied for the second most end zone targets so far this year.
I love that.
Well, so here's why I say the injury doesn't concern me because Jacob Eason has the bigger arm, more
He's terrible.
No,
Oh,
he's more
you should
aggressive.
be no. He's
No,
Wait.
Awful.
No,
let me finish. Let me finish. It's Jameis Winston's
Disregard
situation.
people.
It's Jameis Winston aggressiveness with the potential turnovers and poor throws. But where I completely agree with you is because of Pascal. He's got Carson Wentz's eye. I compared him to Adam Thielen. Like Kirk Cousins just looks to Adam Thielen when they get into the red zone. Carson Wentz is looking for Zach Pascal. I'm going to say it correctly instead of saying Pascal. But there's that eye there. So this is why I agree with you is the Carson Wentz situation. Yeah. The Raiders wide receivers and the Cardinals wide receivers. So Raiders first, I rank them Renfro, Ruggs, Edwards because, again, Cole Beasley version is Renfro. Yep. And I think that's how they should be ranked. Do you agree?
I do agree with you here, but I think it depends on your needs. If you need a wide receiver that's going to give you the high upside, I actually like the increased. I like the increased targets from Ruggs. And we mentioned this earlier, but Derek Carr is looking pretty confident. Now, if this blows up in my face like Derek Carr has done to me the last 2-3 years in a row, I will blame myself. But Derek Carr has. He's been good, and he's been good despite terrible matchups and on a short week, and then spraining his ankle, rolling in his ankle, whatever he did. But he did look to Henry Ruggs. I think it was seven or six. That was Carson Wentz. I think it was 7 or 6 times, or did he do it 2 separate times? I don't know. But either way, that's a lot of upside. So if you need the upside, I would rank Ruggs first. If you need a little bit more safety, I think I'd go with Hunter Renfrow. But for me, I might lean on that home run guy in Ruggs.
Okay. Arizona, I rank them Rondale, AJ Green, Christian Kirk. Here's the thing. I love some Rondale Moore. I have Rondale Moore in a lot of leagues. I still have issues with Rondale Moore because I think we're chasing production right now. He's still fourth in snaps. And yes, they are looking his way and manufacturing touches. But I just say this. Absolutely pick up Rondale Moore if he's still out there. I had him as in you should have. We talked about him last week. You should have picked him up if you were going for upside like Ruggs. But I still wouldn't start him with confidence in the fact of, like, put it this way, Corey Davis coming off a bad game. Are you still starting Corey Davis over Rondale Moore? Because I still am.
Yeah, me too.
And I think that's the conversation you need to have about Rondale Moore.
And I think it's a similar situation here, just like Henry Ruggs, you said, this is your home run hitter guy. He is not going to be someone who is going to see a huge amount of target share week in and week out, but he will be that guy that gives you big plays. When that's going to happen, who knows? That is the problem with boom or bust guys. But when he booms, he booms. There's actually a really funny picture, just real quick, that was on ESPN. And it was like, Rondale Moore, 77-yard touchdown. And then it showed this picture of Kyler Murray like celebrating with a wide receiver, and you'd think that was Rondale Moore. No, it wasn't. It was Christian Kirk. And then Rondale Moore was like on the side, like, "Hey guys, I'm over here." I was like, that was a terrible.
It was
picture.
like the Tom Brady holding up, waiting for the high five.
It was so bad. I was like, oh no.
You know what was so bad too? And I know I'm the person that has said this for my entire career. Do not take away plays. People are always like, well, if you take away that 50-yard run, what did he have? No, that's part of the game.
Identity. That's his identity.
But I will say this. Rondale Moore maybe had 20 yards between the next defender. Like, people forgot Rondale Moore was on the field for that touchdown. And so, again, I'm not saying take it away, but you do add in the context of the fact that it was a broken defensive play of when he scored in that touchdown. Again, to talk about the opportunities. Speaking of not taking, something was taken away. Jalen Reagor, if somebody drops him and thinks he has a bad week.
Thank you for bringing this up.
If he 2 or 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches, and all like that Jalen Hurts pass was beautiful. That catch by Reagor and the route was beautiful, except for those 2 or 3 inches when he steps out. He would have had a touchdown, and everybody would have been trying to add Jalen Reagor instead of dropping Jalen Reagor.
Agreed. I'm so glad you brought this up because I was remiss and forgot about this yesterday when I recorded another show. Literally, we would be having a completely different conversation if that didn't happen, and that is very easy to fix. So keep that on your radar for sure.
All right, before we get out of here, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, KJ Osborne, Max Williams, Evan Ingram, Fuller, any of those names intrigue you?
Yes, KJ Osborne is very intriguing to me because Kirk Cousins is looking his way, and he's looking his way often, and his yards per reception are high, his yards per target are high, and his catch rate is, I think, 70-something in week 1. It was over 80%. He's developing trust with Kirk Cousins, so if you need to have a wide receiver to start or for depth, I like KJ Osborne. I think he's like 9%. And another one I'm going to bring up because I like to be spicy and muy caliente, and I see what you're doing right now because that is what I do when I have a thought, and you're going to wait. Be spicy, be fun. Let's have a great time playing fantasy football and find yourself some Max with 2 X's Williams because he got 7 targets in a team, speaking of the Cardinals, that has DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, and Chase Edmonds. I love
exactly
it.
Why.
I'm picking him up. I know. Well, hey, he still got usage, and I love it because I am fun like that. I'm obviously, if you don't want to pick him up, this is not a must add.
No,
but I'm going to do it because I think it's fun.
Speaking of fun, we can see how much you hate the same thing that I actually made Chris Meany laugh with yesterday.
Oh,
I would pick up a tight end. I would pick up Pat Chicken Fryermuth before I picked up Max Williams. You didn't even smile. See, Chris at least laughed by that. How about Pat Air Fryermuth? Would you go with that one?
I
No?
like that one.
So
I
there you
like
go.
it because I'm an air fryer person, so I like that one.
We had
I
this
like
whole
that one a lot.
conversation
But
yesterday.
no, that means you have to. No, that means you have to rely on Big Ben, and I don't. I don't rely on him at all.
I would take Air Fryermuth over Max Williams every single day.
No. Oh, bet. Can we do a bet next 2 weeks?
Air Fryermuth versus Max Williams?
Versus Max with 2 X's.
Let's see, can we give them like 4 weeks? I mean, the whole reason of the other one was for the matchups. We can at least get
4
a
weeks.
bigger sample.
Let's
A
do
month.
it.
We'll
Let's
give them
do
a
it.
month.
Air fryer
Air fryer versus Max with 2 X's.
Or not safe for work, Max. Like, add one more X in there, man. He's not safe for work.
No, wasn't there a cartoon that was at Mad Max with 2 X's? Not that they didn't include the with the 2 X's part. I feel like there was a cartoon that was.
I mean, like I'm pretty proficient on my cartoons, but not that proficient.
I don't know. All right, so then here, while I'm looking this up real quick, we got to get out of here for Tino.
I think I know what you're talking about. I'll figure it out when the show's done.
Yeah, because Chris Meany's coming up at noon. Watch him, Mean Streets, by the way. So you tell me, streaming quarterback options. We have multitude of options here.
Yes.
Danny Dimes, Justin Fields, Teddy Bridgewater, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, Taylor Heineke. This is the answer I'm giving, Lauren. Then you can go while I try to look this up. Justin Fields is not, because Justin Fields has picked him up, and do not let him sit on. He shouldn't have been on waivers to begin with, because the Jalen Hurts is the perfect example. But out of that, if you don't agree, you can say so. But if you do agree, after Justin Fields, of those other 5 of Danny Dimes, Bridgewater, Carr, Darnold, Heineke, who's your favorite streamer?
Oh, okay. Derek Carr. Ugh, I can't believe I said that. Derek Carr, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has been.
It was the Max with 2 X's.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
purple.
Got it. I think I know what you're talking about.
Teeth thing with that looks like a blade out of the front of his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Max was actually a comic book series in 1993. Wow, I didn't realize it was that old ago. I was young.
Third grade.
That's why.
Whoop,
That's why I barely remember. Anyway, continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like Daniel Jones and I like Derek Carr. I also like Teddy Bridgewater too, but I'm gonna play more matchup here, and I'm gonna go Daniel. No, I lied.
Derek Carr. Derek Carr.
Daniel Jones, Teddy Bridgewater.
All right. Well, there we go. We are out of here. If you have any more questions, at Stepmom Lauren, please follow her. Also at the website. And
Yes,
if you have
stepmomlauren.com.
there you go.
Speaking of not safe for work, don't Google Stepmom Lauren. That's not me. She's on page 2, okay? Just to clear the air.
Stepmomlauren.com. Just put in the .com and put in theathletic.com/BetsTV, all capitals, and you get that first free month. And if we didn't get your questions, that's where you can get your questions. You can go to Lauren. You can go to me. Lauren will be friendlier. I'll still answer, but I won't be as friendly. We have the bet of the Max versus Air Fryer going on. So we have 2 bets, and we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. to talk ranks with Jeff Ratcliffe. We'll be next Tuesday, talk week 4. I had to think about that. For week 4 waivers next week already. See you guys later. Have a good one.